What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Command and Console. My name is Jason. Today we're going to talk about my picks for the 5 very sadly forgotten PS2 games. Now, the way I've created this list is obviously these are games that I personally really like, and also I feel like not enough people in the retro scene talk about these games, and I just want to shed more love and shed more light onto them, so maybe you can go and check them out and you can find some love for them as well. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the first pick. So with the first game, I thought I'd go for one that's in a fairly well-known franchise. Speaking of it, as we film this, Capcom have just announced a brand new game in this series, and I'm so excited. I posted about it. I'm so hyped. It's going to be epic. But anyway, the game I'm going to talk about that I feel is sadly forgotten is Onimusha: Dawn of Dreams. Now, don't get me wrong, the Onimusha franchise is not, forgotten to the point that people don't remember the games or anything like that. But I do feel like it's forgotten to the point where people don't realise there's a 4th game in the series. I mean, neither did I until the PS3 era for some reason. But yeah, there was a 4th game in the series called Dawn of Dreams. You play a brand new character. You don't play a Samunos game, this one. You play a brand new character, and it is pretty decent. It doesn't play quite like the original games. It's more action focused, I suppose, more fast paced in its approach. It's less survival horror samurai and more action hack and slash, I suppose you'd say. Really fun game. I think it's sadly forgotten because there's loads of people on the internet at the moment on YouTube that when people bring up Onimusha, they know the first 3 games, but they don't realise that there's a 4th game. Yep, so that's my 5th pick. Sadly forgotten in my opinion. That is Onimusha: Dawn of Dreams. Once again, it's one of those videos where I'm in the conservatory where my collection lies. If you see me shaking, it's because I'm absolutely freezing my balls off in this conservatory today. It's absolutely freezing. Anyway, let's get back to the video. My next pick for forgotten games is a Sega franchise. And I've spoken about this recently in my 6 games from 6 consoles from 6 genres video. That this series is a long forgotten Sega franchise, and it is Headhunter. I absolutely loved this first game, loved the second game even more, but I feel like people forget about Headhunter. It's a really good kind of action stealth shooter, very inspired by Metal Gear Solid in my opinion. And yeah, you're just basically a law enforcer, and you've got to go and do missions. You can drive around the this kind of semi-open world on a motorbike and do missions. It's very, very good, very unique for the time, and I feel like it's a great action game in its own right. And I swear, the actual training levels, the training missions in this are literally lifted straight out of VR missions from Metal Gear Solid. It's got that absolute vibe in there. It's awesome. Yeah, this game is really, really cool. I think it's sadly forgotten. I mean, you probably get Dreamcast buffs and Dreamcast hardcore fans that know about this, of course, because it's Sega. But I feel like in the mass retro scene, I feel like Headhunter goes a bit forgotten in the PS2 landscape. That's Headhunter. The next game is a game where EA used to take sports games and make them crazy silly and crazy arcade. And this one in particular is long forgotten on PS2. I think it's a great racing title. I'm talking about a game called Shox Rally Reinvented. I played this for the first time very recently, about a week or so ago. I heard about it this year as well for the first time, so it was definitely on my list for the collection. And yeah, this game is absolutely awesome. Long forgotten in the PS2 library, in my opinion. When people think of EA Big, they think of Def Jam Vendetta, and most notably SSX Tricky, or overall the SSX series. I don't know if it sold well or anything like that, or whether it was well received when it came out, but damn is it forgotten. Nobody knows about this game. I didn't know about this game until earlier this year when it became on my radar, because I love racing games in general, and when it's the EA Big label, I'm like, it's gonna be fun regardless of what it is, right? I mean, I'm not a football fan, but I bet those FIFA Street games are fun, and they are EA Big as well. So yeah, Shox is really cool. It's got that, you know, V-Rally from the PlayStation kind of vibe to it. The racing's really fun, like high octane, fast races where you hit these zones. They're called Shox zones, and you've got to get through them as fast as possible to get gold, silver or bronze. And it's like, so you're just trying to like just do the most smooth run through these Shox zones and get the fastest time. But yeah, this game is really fun. Highly recommend it from me. It's one of those not so remembered racing games that I feel like should be up there with some of the best of them. That's Shox. Oh, honestly guys, it's bloody freezing in here. Anyway, as I freeze to death, we can talk about my next game. This game no one remembers, because I remember bringing this game up in one of my recent pickups videos a little while ago, earlier in the year, and literally people were like, I know the publisher, that's it. So I'm talking about a game called Seven Samurai 20XX. This is a game, it is published by Sammy and developed by Dimps. It's a kind of a arena action title where it's basically inspired by Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. So the story is somewhat similar, but it takes place in more of a cyberpunk, steampunk world. Imagine Seven Samurai taking place in Midgard from Final Fantasy VII. It's got that vibe for me, the world in particular, right? So yeah, so this is basically an arena action game. When I talk about arena action games, I'm talking about it takes you into a level and you have to defeat all the enemies to move on. So it's kind of like, here's the arena, kill all the enemies, move on, good times. This is actually really fun. It's really cool. It feels kind of clunky to begin with, I will be honest with you, when I revisited this game a little while ago. But like once you get the hang of it and you realise you've got this meter where you can actually like activate a power up which gives you 2 swords, and you're faster, you're stronger. It becomes so much fun to hack down these enemies in this game. It's really fun. The story is decent as well. Of course, it's going to be somewhat decent because it's based on a really great story, Seven Samurai. So yeah, I can't recommend this game enough. It's tons of action. It's got Muso-esque combat, kind of like Dynasty Warriors, where it's just like just hacking everything. You just hack everything that moves till it's dead. It's really good. I highly recommend it. That's Seven Samurai 20XX. Or if you read the spine, it's 200XX for some fucking reason. The final game on my sadly forgotten PS2 games list is a game that I picked up fairly recently, and I've got very fond memories of it, so I remembered it, but no one ever talks about this. It's by Capcom as well, so I'm really surprised no one talks about this one. I'm talking about a game called Chaos Legion. This game is another, similar to Seven Samurai, I would classify it as a arena action title. It throws you into arenas, you're there to kill enemies or a specific target enemy, and you can move the story forward. The difference with this one, for me, is that it's a bit better than Seven Samurai in that regard, but also it takes a little bit of everything of some of the games that you might remember from Capcom, like obviously Devil May Cry and Onimusha to a lesser degree, and it makes a pretty interesting action title that I think is really fun to play. The story is suitably over-dramatic and edgelordy as possible, which is always fun in these kind of, you know, mid-2000s, early 2000s kind of games, but especially when they're from a Japanese developer, they get extra over-dramatic, which is always funny to me. I never can take these stories seriously. They play it straight as well, but the story in this is hilariously over-dramatic and hilariously eye-rolly, edgelordy, you know, doom and gloom, but it's fun. The story's fun, all things considered. But the combat is where it's at for me. The combat is pretty basic. It's like Devil May Cry, they stripped it right back, and it was instead an arena action title. This game is like, basically, you have these crests you can collect in the game, and it makes you allowed to summon these creatures that help you fight, and the combat is all tied to these creatures that you summon, because you basically got a sword and you've got this glove that can electrocute enemies. So basically there's not much there in terms of your normal combat with your regular character, but when you start spawning in, you know, these creatures to help you fight, it becomes a whole new ball game. And that's where that's where the fighting and the combat gets really fun, is knowing when to unleash your creatures, when to unleash their specific special attacks, which is very much important when you're coming against bosses, because bosses will absolutely stomp you in the ground. Speaking about the bosses in this game, they're massive, and they kind of invoke Dark Souls, not in difficulty terms, but more in the design and, you know, the look of them. They're very Japanese and they're very dark fantasy. It's awesome stuff. Yeah, this had to be number 1 on my list for this video. I could do another video, of course, of other forgotten games on PS2, but Chaos Legion is a game by a prevalent developer, especially in the 2000s. Capcom were absolutely smashing it, right? Yeah, no one talks about Chaos Legion, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. It's an awesome action arena title with a stupid, over-the-top, over-dramatic story that I think is hilarious, and I think you might get a kick out of it. So that is the last pick. That's Chaos Legion. So that is it, guys. That are my picks for 5 sadly forgotten PS2 titles. Let me know any of your thoughts in the comments down below, and please point me in the direction of your picks for sadly forgotten PS2 titles. Let me know what you think about these games, and of course, let's continue to build a sadly forgotten PS2 collection.